Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you decide to watch this video. I want to go over with you guys about setting up bleeds. Um, Even though you guys aren't printing anything out, it's still important that you learn how to set your documents up for print. Um, I'm going to demonstrate after I explain about bleeds. Um, and in that demonstration, I'm going to show you guys how to set up the bleeds. I'm also going to show you guys some of the examples that I will be looking for and expectations that I will be looking for in your project. So make sure you are paying close attention to that. And if you need, watch the video a few more times, not necessarily to duplicate what it is that I'm doing. However, it would be to make things your own in your own project. Okay, so bleeds. Bleeds are something that's very necessary when you are printing and you want the your design or the ink or the color of the colors of your design to bleed off the edge of the paper. Where if you are printing a postcard or a picture, something like that, it won't. If you go when you go to the printer, it will not print out your document with the ink going off the edge of the paper. If you've never noticed if you've designed something or gone to print a picture or something that had ink all the way to the edge of it or had a design all the way to the edge of it, when you print it out of your printer, it leaves that white margin around it. Um, when you send your work to a printer, it's going to have that white margin as well. Typically, the only things that I know of that will print all the way to the edge without um, having that white margin will be photos um, that are printed with, from the photo machine, and also printing press. Um, you have that ability to be able to do that. However, it's still good to set up bleed lines and crop marks and things like that because it calls for your image to be more aligned and unified. Well, not so much unified, but aligned properly and consistently, especially when you're making multiple prints. So I'm going to show you real quick. Typically, whenever you go to a printer or a printer is telling you that they need um, your bleed markings to be an eighth of an inch all around. Let's see. You guys just kind of, I may need to make this a little bit smaller. There we go. Yep, that should be good right there. But an eighth of an inch smaller. I'm sorry, an eighth of an inch all the way around. Okay. Let me just see what it is here. All right. Fix that. There we go. Here is my document. Okay. It's going to be 7 by 5. All right. Inches. Okay. I need to add all the way around. I need to add an eighth of an inch here, an eighth of an inch here, here, and here. Okay. If I add an eighth of an inch together, that gives me what? A quarter of an inch. Okay. 2/8 gives me a quarter. All right. I'm going to show you that in decimal, because when you are putting your dimensions inside of Photoshop or in InDesign or Illustrator, you're not going to put fractions, you're going to put decimals. So an eighth of an inch in a decimal is 0.125. And I'd be adding those together. And a quarter of an inch is 0.25. All right? Oh, sorry about that. So what I'm going to do is, when I know that I'm putting in my dimensions, I know that I have my finished copy is going to be 7 inches and 5 inches. But my design needs to be a little bit bigger than that. I'm going to have to add the eighth that's on each side to my length, making that the quarter inch added to my 7 width size, and the same thing with my length. I'm going to have to add the quarter inch. Okay? Now, I'm going to demonstrate that when I set up my document. Okay? I'm going to create new. I'm going to change it to inches. I want 7.25, 5.25. My resolution is going to be 150. And typically when you are printing, you are going to set your color mode up on CMYK, because that's what the printers prefer. They're not going to print in RGB, because that's for web. Those are web colors. Those RGB colors, those are light shining through those colors to give you the colors that you see, the blending that you see. CMYK, those are the ink colors, and that's what the printer is using. So when you send your artwork off to print, it needs to be in CMYK. However, because we're not printing, you can leave your color mode in RGB, okay? And I'll explain to you guys later on down the line that even when I'm designing for print, before or initially, I will leave my color mode in RGB, do my designing, finish with my design, and then convert it to CMYK afterwards, before I send it to print. But I'll explain that to you guys later on, okay? So I'm going to create that. So here is my document, all right? Now, I am not going to design on, my design is not going to be this full page, because part of it is going to be cut off, okay? However, when I put my background on here, and I'm going to show you guys that, I'm going to have to extend my background all the way to the edges so that it will allow the bleeding to take effect. So first thing that I'm going to do is save my file. File, save as, because this is your project. You guys should be saving it. Oh, I definitely don't want to save it there. Let's just put this on the desktop. All right. My last name is Irving _ project 1. Saving it as a Photoshop file. It already says PSD there. If you notice, I did not erase the whole thing. I only started to type in the beginning part of it. I left it there. But sometimes what I do is I will just come down to the format option area and select Photoshop again, just to make sure that it's going to save properly, and then I'm going to hit save. Okay? This will allow me to be able to save periodically. I strongly recommend that you guys save at least like every 5 minutes or so, after you've worked on something so that you don't lose anything major. Okay? Anything can happen, power surge, power outage, um, the program can freeze up, whatever the case may be. You can sit and leave it for a while, go back to it, and then it's not operating properly. Okay. So the next thing that I'm going to show you guys is if you guys do not have your rulers up here and to the left, you're going to come to view, okay, and turn them on. The shortcut code for that is Command R or Control R if you are on a PC. I posted in the announcement the shortcut codes for Photoshop. So make sure you go through all of those because I tend to use shortcut codes in my demos just out of habit. And if you see me perform a function and you hear me say what it is that I did, then the best, and I don't say what buttons I pushed, maybe because I forgot to, just go to that link and you'll be able to find it there, what that shortcut code was for whatever it is that I did. And I tend to do this without thinking, which is copying my selection onto a new layer. If you hear me say that and I don't tell you what I selected, which is Command J, then you'll hear me say what it is that I did, and you can find that what in the list. Okay, so I'm gonna with my rulers, I'll be able to bring down my guidelines. Okay, and what I do sometimes is I will place a new image, excuse me, and I will call this guide. Okay, and with that, I will be able to like hide it, or having it on the separator, I can hide it and bring it available whenever I want to see, the area, if I'm working in my area still within, what have you, and if it still looks good or not. I can decide to either hide it, or make it visible whenever I want to. But I will create the guide still layer, and then I will come here to the rules, and I will click and drag a rule or guide from the ruler. And if you notice, there is a little box that lets me know exactly where I am on the canvas. So I know, remember I told you guys that an eighth of an inch in decimal is 0.125. So what I'm going to do is I am going to look for that measurement right up in here, and I'm going to get really, really, really close to it, okay? The next thing I need to do is I need to then select another rule or guide and bring it down and set my guide at the bottom, all right? So I'm going to look for the same, except for because I'm going further down the ruler, my dimension, my length is now changing. It is 5.125 that I'm going to be looking for, or very, very close to it. Okay. So now I have two guides set up. All right. This is where the printer is going to cut along that line. So this is called my cut line right here. The lines that I'm drawing, those are cut lines. This area right here and right here is my bleed area, okay? But I need to do the same thing on the left and the right side of the page, okay? So I'm going to come over to my left hand ruler, and I'm going to drag my guideline and do the same thing. Find 1.25. I'm sorry. And if I ever say 1.25, that is not what I mean. I mean 0.125. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And I'm going to look for 7.125, or very close to it. There we go. So here is my cut line, all right? And this is what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to kind of, all right? I'm feeling that because I kind of just want to give you guys an idea of what that is looking like, all right? I'm going to put a mask on that because I want to change the now what I did was I just hit a shortcut code. I filled that area, I painted that area in my mask with black by selecting my over here is my foreground color was black already. So I wanted to fill it with my foreground color. So I hit Option or Alt and Delete, and that filled the selection with black on my mask, okay? So I'm going to drop that selection with Command D, and that red area is called my bleed area, okay? I put it red because of blood bleeding over. Yep, that's why. This area here is my workspace, okay? This area here is 7 by 5, all right? But now what I need to do is, and this is a really good rule of thumb for you guys to understand, that regardless if you're printing for print or even for web, it is not a good idea to put anything that you want to stand out or be visible, like text or someone's face or whatever it is. If it's something that you're wanting to pop or stand out, you do not want it to be close to the edge of your canvas, because if it's going to be printed and it's going to be cut, you risk the chance of some shifting happening and the important stuff being cut off. You also risk the same chance in digital media, where if you're posting, on different platforms, but you're using the same dimensions, well, there can be cropping that happens, in the process, and you may not be able to get your whole design in there, and fitting properly where it's seen. So it's really good to set up margins even in your document, okay? And what I recommend, and this is what I often do, depending on what it is I'm designing. If I know that what it is that I'm designing and what I'm working on, I'm wanting more landscape for the whole image, I'm going to set my margin space up the same amount of space that I use for my bleed, which is 1/8 of an inch, right? So when I come over to set up my bleed, I know that 1/8 of an inch plus 1/8 of an inch is 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to find that 1/4 of an inch measurement here, or very close to it, which is 0.25. And I'm going to set my next margin, my next guideline, which is in my margin line here, okay? I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Here we go. Now, if I know that I want my my main image or my main focus is not going to take up a lot of landscape. However, what I'm wanting to really show in addition to that is a scenery, but I want to kind of frame in my information that I'm putting. I may bring my margin spacing in just a little bit more so that I'm not having to let's see. I may bring it in a little bit more so that the framing looks a little bit better. But you know what you'll be designing. You know what it's going to look like. So you can decide then what your safe space is going to look like. And that's what this is. That's the safe space, okay? Right here. This is the safe space. This is your margin. This is the area that is kind of like this warning area where you don't want to put anything too close to the edge, all right? I'm going to do the same thing with the top. Get as close as I can to that 2.5. Same thing with the bottom. And there, my guides are set. I want to see this. I do not need to see the red mark on there or what have you. That's just for demonstration purposes. But I definitely want to see this on your PSD file. Okay, when I open up your document, I should see these lines. Okay, leave them on. If it seems like it's a distraction to me at any point, then what I do, I can just turn them off, or I can hide them, or I can, clear them, whatever. It doesn't matter. But I want to see them. You leave them on, and I'll take care of, make sure that you get your points and what you need, and I can turn them off if I need to once I get it, okay? But this is the area where your background, your main background must go, okay? I am going to pull up 5 images. In the directions you will see that you have to use 5 images. No more, no less, okay? 5 images only. I'm going to take these 5 images here. These 5 images for me have no purpose, no thought process within them. I grab 5 images and I'm just going to work with them, okay? Now, I'm going to take all of these images, all 5 of these images, and I'm going to bring them into Photoshop when I'm ready for them, okay? I already know, just by looking at all of these images, which one is going to be my background image, and that's this one, okay? I'm going to take this image, I'm going to click it, and I'm going to drag it to my main Photoshop file, okay? And hit Command 0 to center that a little bit and see where my edge is. And I am going to bring it to the edge of my document, okay? I'm going to fill the whole space up, okay? I'm doing that because I know that the main part of the image that I'm wanting is that skyscraper. I am going to center that skyscraper right where I want it. That is one of the main things that I'm wanting to see, okay? I'm going to make it either as big or as small as I want, but I know that all the rest of this is not relevant to me. I don't need that, but I do want it to be a part of my background, okay? The other thing is I want all of that skyscraper to be in there. I don't want the top part to be cut off, this little piece here. So I'm going to bring it down to my safe area, okay? Remember, the white space is my margin. The white space is still my page. That white space that you're seeing is still going to be there um, when they cut. All right. Now, when you bring in your image, you get the position where it is that you want it. You get it sized up. Next thing you need to do is you need to name that layer. Okay. I'm gonna name it skyscraper slash background. Okay. That is my background layer. That is the one that's going to stay at the bottom. All right. That's something that I already know because I've chosen my images. I already have in my mind what my design is going to be like, and now I'm just putting it together. Okay. I'm going to add a layer because I need to complete this. I need to fill this space up here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to clone some of this sky background to fill the top part of this part here, okay? To fill the top part of my page. Not to the point of my save in my on my canvas, but I'm going to I'm going to clone past it so that it can paint within my bleed area so that when they cut my image has the ink bleeding off the edge, okay? So I know that I'm going to clone on this layer. I'm going to put cloning on or cloning from sky on background. Why am I doing that? Why do I want you guys to do that? Because here is where I want to see your work. Here is where I want to see what it is that you've done to your project. I do not want to see it in this information in your Word document. I do not want to see this information in your synopsis, okay? I don't want to know how you put your image, your design together in your synopsis. I want to know that here, okay? So from here, I'm going to go to my cloning my cloning tool, okay? Current and below is selected, all right? And the spacing is good enough. Now, I'm not going for perfection on here, you guys, but I recommend that you guys do go for making your work look really good. I'm just trying to complete this for you guys, okay? Now, I'm getting close to that skyscraper, but I don't want the skyscraper part in there, okay? So I'm going to select here because this color is really close to it. And I'm just going to come paint around it there. And then I'm going to come here. Now notice on my layer, I am painting on and I'm cloning on this layer, the cloning layer, not my main image. Reason why is because if I want to change something or fix something or alter something, I still have my image here to be able to do so. Okay? I don't want to destroy my image. I want to keep it intact as much as I can. So now I'm going to just continue to fill up in this area. Being mindful when I get to the skyscraper, I don't want to do the same thing. I don't want to cover up the skyscraper there. All right. Oh, too far. Okay. So now that doesn't look bad. I can't really tell or what have you that there's some editing, been there or anything like that. I know for me, I can definitely go in and clean up, this space right up in here. But for the demo purposes, I'm totally happy with that. It definitely looked better than what I did in my other class for the demo. So this is great. Now, because I did cloning on this layer, I have two options. I can merge these two layers together, but then that will, you know, destroy my image. That's going to make it permanent. I don't want to make this permanent um, for my project because I want my instructor to see that I did this work, okay, that I altered this. But what I will do is I am going to select both layers and I'm going to link them together. I'm linking them together because in the event that I want to resize this image, it will resize all together, okay? Now, I am fine with the sizing of that. So what I will do now is I know that I have another image that I'm going to want this skyscraper to be visible all the way through, okay? But I'm going to want to put something behind it, okay? But I don't want to cut out all of this background. I just want to use my layer mask to be able to do that. Now, one of the things that we just used was the pen tool, okay? Remember, some tools are better than others to use. And for this job that I'm wanting to select, the pen tool is going to be best, all right? Now, another thing that I'm going to want to see is the same thing. I'm going to want to see you saving paths. I'm going to want to see you saving channels, okay? In this one, I'm going to want to see you use one of your channels. That's called a useful alpha channel, okay? There is a video in D2L about it, and I'm going to demonstrate it here as well, okay? So make sure you pay attention to it. That is something that I will be looking for, okay? And if you took my class last semester, you know that this is something that I definitely stress, okay? I'm going to come to the pen tool, and I am just going to start selecting where I know is going to, let's see right here, where I know is going to, I'm going to want to cut it out, all right? So I'm just going to kind of come here. And this is just a rough cut, you guys, not something that I'm going to be looking for you guys in your work. I'm going to want to see better. Actually, I think I have a pretty good idea of, come back around and close that up. Okay. Now, I have my path made. And remember, I told you guys that if you're going to make a path, you want to save that path. Okay. I'm going to go to path. All right. save path. This is my skyline. There I go. Okay. I also want to save this as a selection. Okay. Why? Because I can use this on a mask, and it will allow me to be able to get the credit for the useful alpha selection because I know what it is that I'm wanting to do. Okay. So I'm going to come here, right down at the bottom. I'm going to click where the little dancing ants are and turn that into a selection. Okay. I'm going to come up to select and I'm going to hit save selection. Okay. Then I'm going to select, I'm going to name it, same thing, sky line. And I'm going to hit OK. And here it is in my channel. All right. I'm going to go back to my layers. I'm going to hit Command D to drop my selection because I am now good to go. As you notice, I did not cut anything out. I made a selection and I saved it because I already know that I want to keep this background, but I definitely want to add something behind it. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my my other images because I'm ready to work on my other images. Okay. Let's see. I have the cat. Here we go. So I'm going to click and drag in to my project file. And if I hit shift and release, it centers that cat on there. All right. I'm going to bring my cat in just a little bit. But now the other thing that I'm going to do is I am going to, well, I need to move my cat and also make sure that you are paying attention to where your layers, how your layers are laid out. Okay. You don't want, certain things or what have you. Like if I left the cat there and then I raise the cat up, look at that. That would kind of look really awful. So I'm going to make sure that it's on top exactly where I want it. Okay. I am going to lower my opacity on the cat so that I can see exactly where I want the cat position on here. Okay. Because the cat is what I am wanting to almost kind of look like it is laying on the skyline a bit. Okay. But I want to make it look like it's laying behind the skyscraper, but kind of coming in front of him, just in front of it, just a little bit. Okay. So I'm just kind of bring him down just a little bit. I make him a little bit bigger. Something like that. Okay. So now that I have the way I want that, put it there. Raise my opacity back up again. Another thing that I'm going to be looking to see is refining your selections. Okay. If you just have all easy selections, made in there, your design is simple and basic. I want to see that you do some type of hair, some fur, type selections, in here. I want to see you actually pushing yourself, and trying to refine your selections to make them look good. Okay. So I have this cat. It has fur. I'm naming my layer. This is the cat. I know that I'm going to cut him out. So cat. You can add the tool that you use to cut him out. I'm just going to say quick mask for now. Quick mask selection / refining. because I know I'm gonna need to refine this cat. Okay. Now, if you do something extra with with the image and editing and stuff like that that you may not have intended to do when you went to name your layer, just go back and add that to your layer. You can definitely your layer name. You can definitely do that. Okay. So let's just grab this quick match real quick. Let's put this cat. No, this is gonna be a really rough selection on this cat. All right. I really want to see you guys make some really good selections on here. Okay, my computer band. That's already been crazy today. Let's see, I got about enough to go ahead and bring it in refining. This is good for now. So I'm gonna come select and mask. All right. See if it is in this mode. Yeah, I like that. All right. So refining. I found my brush like that. Bring it down just a little bit. I'm just gonna clean up around the cat and I'm coming with a brush and filling spaces that I know that I want. Oh, my deal is taking a while to render. Soften up my brush. Just so he doesn't look so weird when I put him on the deal. All right. I'm gonna come and refine just a little bit more. see if I can get any of those whiskers. All right, you guys. That's enough. I can really get into making this look the way I want it to look, but it's not the purpose. I'm fine with that for now. And I am going to come to my output settings. All right. Selection. I can either just have it selected on there, or I can make it create a layer mask on that layer that I have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select layer mask. Okay. I can check this to have it remember my selections. Okay. Hit OK. And it is already masked out for me on here. But now there's a problem. I can't see my um, skyscraper. I'm telling you guys, my thoughts are leaving me right now. I can't see my skyscraper. All right. Now because this has a mask, I can come in and just paint around here, clean this up, and things like that, because this does not look good at all. Okay. So I will come on here and delete some of those pixels that I don't want on here, or bring back some that need to be, on there. But for now, I'm just going to leave it as is, and I'm going to make sure that my cat is really in the position that I want. So I'm just going to kind of bring him down just a little bit more to kind of make it seem like he's resting right on this building. Okay. Might have him come up just a little bit more. Oh my gosh, please don't tell me that Photoshop is acting up in the middle of my. It is acting up, you guys. Yes, indeed. Okay, so here's where I say you need to save frequently. All right. So when Photoshop starts acting crazy, you can close out of it and start it over. All right. Anywho, I'm gonna move on, and I'm gonna show you guys this alpha channel deal real quick. Notice here, even when I made my selection, there is still some pixels that are on there. You guys want to make sure that you clean those things up, okay? All you have to do is just go in your mask and delete all of that, because all it's saying is it just doesn't select every last, bit of it, all right? And that's fine. You just go in and just clean it up. So on this mask right here, okay, because I want the skyscraper to show up in the middle right here, I am going to come here to my channels panel. I'm going to hold down the command or control, depending on what device computer you're using, and I'm going to select that channel, okay? And that brings up my selection of the skyscraper. The skyscraper and the skyline, okay? On this mask, the cat mask, okay, I am going to find my brush. I'm going to make sure that I'm painting in black, because when you paint in black on a mask, it hides your pixels. When you paint in white, it reveals them, okay? And I'm going to paint everywhere that I want the cat to be behind the skyscraper, which is right here, okay? Right there is all that I'm wanting. I'm going to drop my selection, and this is what I have. If I see this, I see that you have an alpha channel. I am going to click this visibility on it, and I am going to see how it's being used. Okay, I am going to come here and see where it is on your what layer is on. I am going to hit my command. I'm going to click it, and if I see this lined up, guess what? You have executed a useful alpha channel, and you get credit for that. Okay, so that is one way of creating an alpha channel. I'm sorry, a useful alpha channel. Okay, drop that selection in there. This is a good example of what it is that I'm wanting to see. I gave you guys a list of other things that I'm expecting to see. You must use 5 images, okay? I don't know if Photoshop will allow me to finish my demo the way I'm wanting to, but I am going to just kind of run through real quick and show you guys just a couple of more things. I'm going to put this guy here in the background. I'm going to use a blend mode. I'm just going to kind of flip through and just see which one I like the best. Which one is going to give me the look that I'm wanting. I'm going to put a mask on it. All right. And I'm going to paint in a soft brush. Maybe a little bit larger than that. And I'm going to paint in black because I'm going to get rid of what it is I don't want on there. I just kind of want it coming through the background deal of the sky. But again, it's on my skyscraper, right? And I want it on top of the skyscraper because if I try to put this behind it, I can't see the image, right? Can't put it there. This is how it looks there. But still, this part is showing. I can use the same selection, you guys. Exact same selection. Come on this mask. Paint that. And that's done. Now, I see that his eyes aren't quite centered the way I want it to be. So I'm going to select this link right here that is linking this image to this mask. And I'm going to move it over. Oops, not the mask. Make sure the right thing is selected. I want to move the image over. So that it doesn't look weird. Okay? I mean, it already looks weird because these random images just kind of thrown together. Okay? So that's an example of blending. All right? Name my layer, boy. You do not have to put blending on there because when I click on the layer, I'm going to see that there's a blend mode on it. All right? I'll also see if you change the opacity on it. So you don't have to put that. You don't have to put that you did masking on it because I can see that. Now, when you use your, if you decide to use a vector mask, you don't have to. You also don't have to put that you um, use the vector mask because I will see your vector mask used. Okay. What I cannot see, obviously, is what you need to put on here. Okay. Get the image of the man and show you guys another little deal here. Some people decide to make images really small. Sometimes I can't see those images clearly. It is really good to make sure, like I said, name your images. And if you're going to make it really small, man in eye. Well, in boy's eye. Okay? Now, I know that I'm going to want to put this man in this boy's eye. I'm going to hide this layer real quick. All right? I'm going to put a mask on it as well because I know that I'm going to need that. But I'm going to come to the boy's layer, and I am going to get my marquee tool, and I can make a circle. Select his eye. But I don't need this part, so I'm just going to go ahead and get this. Let me use my, be a little bit more precise. I'm going to subtract from that selection. And that's what I want right there. So I'm going to come back here. All right. And I want just that part filled in there. All right. So what I want to do is I want to inverse my selection. I'm going to hit Command or Control, Shift, and I, and that inverses my selection. The other thing that I can do is I can come over to Select and hit Inverse. Okay. I'm going to come to my mask, and I am going to fill it with black. Okay. Now, I could have had two alpha channels from that. I could have had two useful alpha channels from that. Had I made the selection right here, saved it, and then used it here. Okay? That would have given me two. Down the line, you're going to have to give me more than two alpha channels. But for this one, you only need one. But the more you do it, the better you get at it, and the more useful, of course, you'll find it to be in your designs. But again, I want to reposition. I'm going to drop the selection first, and I want to reposition the man in his eye. And I'm going to change the blending mode on it because if not, it's just going to look really weird. Okay, I think they kind of scrunch it up a little bit, but it's all good. Let's see. And that is looking pretty good. So let's just see changing the opacity. Yep, that'll work. That's fine. So now I've done quite a few things so far. I've made selections, two different kinds of selections at least. I've done quick mask. I've done some refining. I've done pen tool. As a matter of fact, here I can use a skyscraper background pen tool selection. even though I will see that selection here in your path still, okay? I've done some cloning. I've changed the opacity. I've done some blending. Um, I've done quite a few things. I've saved my channel. I've saved an alpha channel. Um, I've used almost 5 images. Let's see, what do I have here? You have some fire. Now here, this is another thing that I definitely want to tell you guys about. This is a PNG that is being used. This is a transparent background. That means I didn't do anything to this image but paste it in my design, right? That's it. See, we're just gonna stretch this out. Bring this down a little bit. And just gonna change the blend mode on it. And it's fine. But I'm also gonna change the opacity on it just a little bit. I might put a mask on there and just kind of mask out certain areas. To almost kind of make it seem like, there's fire coming through the building or what have you. This is just a rough deal. This is not exactly how to execute that look, you guys. This is just, again, giving you guys an understanding of using 5 images, putting together, making some images blend based on some of the tools you have in your arsenal right now, some of the skills that you guys possess right now. Excuse me. I am keeping in mind that this is the second level class and that some of you guys haven't touched Photoshop in a while. However, there is an expectation that you guys have to practice, okay? So if you are behind, this class is not to necessarily catch you up or what have you. You should be doing some catching up on your own to make sure that you're able to stay at pace with the class, okay? And it's not a reteaching, but rather building on what it is that you guys already have or should already have. So I am expecting to see more than what I've shown you guys, because I know that there's more to Photoshop from the first level class that you guys learned. Okay. Again, I'm wanting to see you guys push yourself, and I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. Now, I have these 5 images that I used in here, right? Oh, and I didn't name this layer, so make sure you name your layer. This is fire, right? And save it. I'm going to stress here that there are only 3 files that I want from you guys for your project. None of them are a screenshot, okay? It must be your Photoshop file, which is your original file, all right, with all of your layers named, all of your work done within this file. I do not want you to open up your file here and make your selections here and then bring it into Photoshop. I want to see your selections made within this main project, okay? What else? Oh, I'm so sorry. You guys also need to provide a title, okay? Let's see. This is Crazy Dream. Change this font on here. Network. I just make something dark there, and it's gonna kind of crazy dream, something that stands out. I can still see all of my work or what have you for the most part. Um, it's not covering up anything, major. Um, I can still see my design really well. So uh, you guys make sure um, that you make sure that you include your text in there. Okay. Now, what I want to show you is how you will submit your original files to me. In the Photoshop, new. This does not need bleeds. 8 by 10. You can choose the orientation. That is totally up to you. Resolution, 72 is fine. Create. And all of your images, you can either bring them all in here or you can drag them all in again. It's up to you, whichever one you feel comfortable with. All right. And just size them all to fit all on one page. Not overlapping. Oops. I need to be able to see the whole image. If this is a PNG, do not add anything to the background of it. Don't try to make it seem like there was something added on there or not, because if I look in the file and it looks different from, different so much so from what you have here, I'll be able to tell that. And if I can't tell very well and I kind of suspect it, then I'm going to ask you to send me the original image. Okay? Once you have all of these 5 images, up here, file, save as, Irving underscore P1, oops, not at, underscore, P1 originals. Come down to format, save as a JPEG. Okay? I want JPEG of your 5 original unedited images. Okay? They must be unedited so that I can see where you started from. Okay? You're turning in the project file. You're turning in your images. Must be 8 by 10. I will check to see the sizes of everything. It doesn't matter the landscape. It's either portrait or, it doesn't matter the orientation. It can be portrait or landscape. Same with your project. As long as the dimensions are there, as long as you have your bleed marking set up. Again, you notice that everything that I mainly want to be present and seen is in the safe area, okay? What's in red is what will be cut off. What you see left visible is what will be the finished print out, the finished cutout once it would be printed, okay? If I were you guys, I would get into the habit of making sure that you are designing with margins. And if you know that you're going to be printing it out and you want the color of your finished product to go off the edge, then make sure that you are creating those bleeds. If you know where you're going to print your design at, then you want to get with the printer and you want to ask them, what are you guys' standard bleed settings? Typically is what I just showed you guys, but very rarely will you see somebody say, oh, all I need is such and such and such, you know. So it just depends, but you would need to communicate with your printer. Let's see. I want to make sure that I went over everything with you guys. Make sure that you guys have good contrast in your images, okay? I'll be looking for I'm making sure that your images contrast and they're not all blending in together and monochromatic. If the intention is to be monochromatic or what have you, then you want to make sure that it's working, you know, that I can tell, you know, what it is and that it looks good. You also want to make sure that your piece is one unified piece. Even if like my images don't go together, like this is where like you're not going to see this. That's why I guess I named it Crazy Dream, because you're not going to see anything like this or what have you. And some of these things could be representatives, you know, of something else or what have you. And that's totally fine. But what I mean by unified is when you're blending and when you're doing your cuts and things like that, that it doesn't look like an obvious cut and paste, you know. I could have added shadows, you know, underneath the, you know, the cat, you know, and not a shadow here in the effect deal because that's just going to add a drop shadow to it. But I could have more so added a shadow to make it seem like the cat was actually, you know, leaning on here. And that's what I'm meaning by creating unified, you know, adding a bit of shadow behind the skyscraper here to make it seem like the cat is really, you know, right there, you know, behind it. Blending this a little bit more to make it seem like it's actually a part of, you know, or actually in the sky, you know. Just making things just look a little bit more realistic, you know, and unified. All right. The other thing that I want to show you guys, for those who don't know, and that will be looking for images. All right. I have some links in there to sites that will allow you to find free stock images that are already good quality, but some of them probably won't require very much editing as far as like blemishes and things like that go. So you just want to make sure that you are, if you're looking for something like that and you're trying to challenge yourself, especially in that area, and show the complexity of your design, then you might want to just be a little bit more specific in your search. But when you're searching for images on Google, then you just want to type in your image or what have you. Let's see, cars. You're going to click images. Okay. You're going to come to tools, select size, large, user rights. Okay. You want to make sure that you select Creative Commons license. Okay. You notice on some of them, it'll give you the little indication licensable. When you click on them, you can see your the size of the image. You can see that this quality is really good. I want to see good quality images. No, 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 no watermarks on images. Okay? No watermarks. Those are automatic point deductions. Blurred, pixelated, not blurred, because you can blur your images. That's totally fine. But do not put pixelated images in your design. That is all I have for you guys. If you guys have any questions about anything, definitely contact me and let me know. Make sure that you read through all of the instructions, that you review anything that you need to review. Remember that there is an exam, and again, just reach out if you need. All right.